Hi there and welcome to the first lesson on variables in Python. Now, a variable is something that holds a value. This can be anything. It can be a number or it can be text. They're the two main ones we're going to deal with for now. Later on, we're going to be dealing with something called objects. All right. So a variable to start off with, we are going to be using numbers and text. Now, text in computer terminology is called a string. Okay, so I'm going to put in our comment here. This is our first comment. So, a piece of text, we call it a string. Okay, now a whole number, we call it a integer. A number with a decimal place, we call it a double. A single letter, we call it a character or char. Okay, now, so them are the four data types we're going to be dealing with to start off with. Now, in other programming languages, such as Java, such as C#, you have to say what type of variable it is. So you have to say that this is a integer, a full number, give it a name, and then you assign a full number to it. Now, Python is a loosely typed language. That means you do not have to define a type. Now, what do I mean by that? So, if I go and name, okay, that is a variable name, and it's going to be my name. Okay, now text is always surrounded by double quotation marks. Okay, text is always surrounded by double quotation marks, which is called a string, is always surrounded by double quotation marks. Okay, so that's our first variable. Now, our next variable is going to be a full number, a whole number, a number with no decimal places. That is called an int, and I'm going to call it num. Now, as well, by convention, variable names always start with lowercase. So you can see name, it's not capital. Now, you can do that, but the convention is they're going to be lowercase. All right. Now, so num. Now, num is going to stand for number. You can go number, but I'm going to shorten it to num. All right. It's going to be equal to 34. So that means, so what is this? So numbers of any type are not surrounded by quotation marks. Okay, so that is num. It's a full number. I'm going to do number. I'm going to call it double num. Okay, double num is going to be equal to 3.45. Okay, so this is a, well, they're actually called floating point numbers, which is a number with decimal places. Simple as that. And just like with an int, you don't need to surround it with double quotation marks. Okay, now the last data type is a char. So I'm going to say letter is equal to a. Okay, now for chars or characters, single quotes can be used for characters. Okay, so we can see here we have got a name. It's going to be null flat, right? It's going to be a num, which is an integer. It's going to be 34. Now, we have this guy here, 3.45. We have a letter, which is going to be A. Now, I want to print out each one of these. So I'm going to print off the name. So I go print, and I just put in name. That will print off null flattery. Next one, print num. That will print off 34. The next one, print double num. That will print off 3.45. The next one, print letter. That will print off A. Just to prove that it does, we can see it's printing off null flattery, which is this guy up here. It's printing off 34, which is num. It's printing off 3.45, which is double num. It's printing off letter, which is A. Now, with other programming languages, you would have to say that this is a string. You would have to say that this is an int. You would have to say that this is a double. You would have to say that this is a char. With Python, you don't have to define a type. It's what they call a loosely typed language. And even as well, now the thing about variables is the values. So the name of the variable goes on the left hand side. Okay. Now this is not equals to. This is something called the assignment operator. All right. Do not get confused when I go 1 and 1 is equal to 2. It is not the same thing. All right. This is assigning this to this. So wherever I print off name, it's going to print off null flattery. Now the beauty of variables is their values can change. So I'm going to put in my niece's name. Okay. And I'm going to print it off down here. Now, so at this point here, name is equal to no. Name is going to be the string null flattery. And so it prints off null flattery. Here I change it to Shelley Burke. So if I go to print it off again, it's now the type, it's now the value Shelley Burke. All right. That is our first lesson in variables in Python.